Hey everybody, welcome back to Huntington Bank Stadium. We told you we'd be here with full post-game coverage of Ohio State at Minnesota Thursday night, the Big Ten opener. Buckeyes 45, Minnesota 31. This is Rapid Reaction. It's brought to you by Byers Auto. That's Spencer Holbrook, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. Rainy Minneapolis, so Berm said that Spencer and I had to come out here and deal with the elements just like him, just like the Buckeyes did for 4 hours. Obviously, it made it a little bit soggy, sloppy in that first half. Also, first games tend to be this way. As you leave here, Berm, like, what did you see down at field level, and is this a win that Ohio State can live with?
I think it's not even just a win you live with, and I think it's going to drive people crazy when I say this, but I think it's a win you're happy about. This is a season-opening win on the road in the Big Ten with a quarterback who's never thrown a pass in college football. You're running out defensive backs that no one had any right to believe were going to play, let alone start.
Right.
And you know, there were some ins and outs and things that went poorly. There was some struggles in stopping the run game in Minnesota, which everyone knew coming into this week that was going to be the problem. Mo Ibrahim's a really good back. That Minnesota offensive line is massive. I mean, massive. Those are some big dudes. And I think that you have to look at it from a building block perspective. This is certainly not a normal season opener by any stretch. Take away everything that happened last year in the COVID year, and it still would be an abnormal season opener. And so, you know, there's going to be a lot to learn from, but I think that's what coaches love about season openers.
Or hate.
I agree with Berm, and I really didn't until he started talking, and I got to thinking, they've already got a Big Ten road win in their back pocket now. Yeah. And probably one of the tougher Big Ten road games on the schedule is complete. You're done. You're out of it. You had a rainy, sloppy game, and your quarterback still almost has 300 yards. You played the hits when it comes to your offense. You ran the throwback to Olave for a touchdown. Olave made a play for a touchdown. Garrett Wilson gets in the action. I mean, like, this team looked really talented without looking very good, and I think that's really scary.
That's the scary part for the rest of the Big Ten. And to run down that checklist, it was bad weather for these guys making their debut. You don't have Cameron Brown or Seven Banks at cornerback. A problem there. A bunch of other guys who'd been on pitch counts. You weren't sure exactly how many reps Dallas Gant was going to play at linebacker. You could tell that was a work in progress. So Ohio State was trying to figure things out. I think they stubbornly stuck to some script with how much they substituted, particularly at running back. But all these things that you're talking about, a Big Ten win anytime, a road win anytime, in the weather like this, the first time that guys have to play, you take that. But, you know, we wouldn't be having a rapid reaction if we didn't also talk about the things that they can improve. What is at the top of the list for you, brother?
For me, it's about the physical toughness up front on the defense. I mean, that was the question mark of the year coming in, and I don't think we saw any answers at linebacker. I know Taraji Mitchell played a good game. There's a reason he's a captain, and I think he was clearly the guy over the last handful of months that stepped up the most. I thought Tommy Eichenberg played fairly well. You know, Steele Chambers was out there, and in the most pivotal drive of the game, the Buckeyes had Steele Chambers out at linebacker with Tommy Eichenberg. And you go, man, I mean, I know that I'm reading this as the coaching staff thinking they were not going to lose this game no matter what. And so they were just simply going, we're going to see what everyone can do in the weirdest situations. And I mean, they're guys that stood up. Denzel Burke played great, you know, but obviously you want to see more out of the Buckeyes. But you're not going to see an offensive line like Minnesota's probably the rest of the year. So I'm trying to not overreact to the lack of pass pressure. You know, they only got home to their quarterback twice. Once was on the blitz from Cody Simon. Once was Zach Harrison making a big play that led to a touchdown. But I'm trying not to overreact to that. But you certainly wanted to see more pressure up the middle, and I didn't see any of that from Haskell Garrett.
One of the things I think we collectively kind of lost sight of in the midst of this game when you're complaining about everything that's going on is that this team kind of was pretty vanilla tonight. It just looked like you said, Berm, they just they knew they were going to win. They knew that they were going to outlast Minnesota. So you go vanilla. You don't show too much. And when they needed to, they throw the throwback to Ruckert. They throw the throwback to Olave for a touchdown. They run the different plays that you have to run when you're in a tough game on the road in the Big Ten while not showing Oregon very much of anything. And so part of me can talk about all of the things that went wrong because there were quite a few things. I think there's actually a laundry list of things that they really need to improve on. But like when you saw these guys get after it, when Cody Simon came on that blitz, he was like a bullet, shot out of a cannon into the backfield.
Right.
When Zach Harrison wanted to, he was bullying people against the run, against the pass, had the strip sack. Haskell Garrett gets a touchdown. Like, they did the things they needed to do, and you could see that was there. It almost just was like, we know we're going to win this game anyways.
Yeah, and I think you got that sense even before kickoff because Sevyn Banks, they called that an emergency roll. He was in full uniform and ready to, looked like he desperately wanted to get in there some in the second half. Cameron Brown was back in Columbus. That situation, sources with direct knowledge told Lettermen Row that he's expected to be back next week, expecting to play next week. Ryan Day talked about that after the game with both Sevyn Banks and Cameron Brown, thinking that they will be there. Harry Miller is a day-to-day situation, but you just look, everybody who was really on that sort of pitch count coming back from health, they didn't rush it.
Yeah.
And that's the weird part about evaluating this game, and then the substitution patterns in the rotation, where on the one hand you're going to say, great, it's a road win on the road in rainy conditions, as we've said every time, and then it's like they treated it at times like a scrimmage.
I also think it's a firm and good reminder for Buckeyes fans out there to take a step back and appreciate how good Justin Fields and Dwayne Haskins have been over the last few years. Because what we saw tonight was a quarterback who looked inconsistent, who looked rattled at times in the first half. There were a couple times where he just made throws downfield that were nowhere close to anybody, and you're like, what we saw out of Haskins and Fields was that they would find a way to put it close enough to the receivers to let them make plays. And maybe, who knows, maybe CJ was a little skittish because the one that he had to put close enough to make the play, Garrett Wilson went through his hands on the opening.
I was going to say, that was a ball that was on a deep shot on the money early on, and if you catch that, maybe we're talking about
so there's a lot of things, but CJ Stroud didn't play great football, and he threw for 294 yards, and he threw for 4 touchdowns. And you saw from Ohio State tonight just that ability to, I don't want to say toy with their opponent, but they had 5 touchdowns of over 38 yards today, 4 of them over 50 yards. This is a home run hitting team, and I think as you head down the road here with Oregon next week, you're going to need to be able to grind out some yards. And I think that the Buckeyes running game, there's a lot of feelings I have about running back rotation, and I don't know after a 71-yard touchdown run that I would have taken Mayan Williams off the field for a quarter and a half, but I'm not in charge.
I think I was very critical of that throughout the game, and I still think that was the wrong move. Now, because we've seen it before, and it doesn't work, and you know what Master Teague's ceiling is, and if you're intending to get Travion Henderson in the game, maybe you give him the second drive instead of the one that you know is your short yardage and goal line hammer, and probably that's about it. Master Teague, I don't know that can really continue for Ohio State to reach their offensive ceiling, but the flip side that I was going to say to that is that Ryan Day probably wouldn't have guessed that they were going to have, 5 minutes of possession in the first half.
That's crazy.
So it wound up taking a really long time for Mayan Williams to get involved, and he did not have the amount of rushing attempts that a starting running back should have for Ohio State. I think that will change next week.
Do you think that was part of that? They were throwing the ball a lot more with CJ Stroud than I would have. If I was calling this game on NCAA 14 at home and I had a freshman quarterback and those running backs and that offensive line, I probably would have had more than 11 carries for Trey Henderson and Mayan Williams. Probably would have had 11 or 12 each, and take a little bit of the pressure off CJ Stroud. But at the same time, they have to put him in the position, don't they, to say go make plays, because they got Oregon next week.
And I'll give it to you on this, Spencer. But I think if you look at, we don't have the stat sheet in front of us right now as we break it down on Rapid Reaction, but I think CJ Stroud threw 22 passes, right? There just weren't many plays in this game for Ohio State. So some of that with numbers for carries, the passing attempts, just wasn't a ton of it to go around.
And when Berm talks about the plays of over 50 yards, that's what happens. You don't run that many plays. But, with Mayan Williams, with Travion Henderson, you want everybody to get carries. And I think they've taken a new approach to the way maybe the entire program's being run, where they talk about the pitch counts and they talk about being fresh for January. They talk about being fresh for December. I think they saw what a season can do to you by the end of it last year when you get to the national championship game. The goal is to win the national championship this year. The goal is not to beat Minnesota by 40. And so if you wanted to beat Minnesota by 40, you give the ball to Mayan Williams every single play. If you want Mayan Williams to have 125 yards against Alabama in the national championship in Indianapolis, you run him maybe 9 times, and as the season progresses, you get him hit more.
We don't script any of this stuff, but during the end of the game, I was sitting out there walking around thinking, this is what I'm going to say on Rapid Reaction.
Oh, so it's saved up right now.
And
Good.
So now I'm going to say it. Ohio State didn't lose a national championship tonight, and they didn't win one, right? This is the first game of the season against a pretty darn good team, and kudos to Minnesota. They were ready to play. They didn't make dumb mistakes. They didn't have turnovers until the Ohio State forced one. It wasn't an unforced error. They penalty-wise were very, very good. Ohio State played a little loose and sloppy at times. And, again, that offensive line and Mohamed Ibrahim, unfortunate that he's probably going to miss the rest of the season now, because I think this Minnesota team looks like a team that could have competed in the West with him, and I guess we'll see if they can do that without him. But, Josh Proctor's injury is a big part of this puzzle here for Ohio State heading into next week. Is he back? Is he not? I really liked what I saw out of Ronnie Hickman. I liked what I saw out of Bryson Shaw. I really liked what I saw out of Denzel Burke. Ryan Watts was a little sloppy. I mean, the one pass interference down the middle of the field here was absolutely hilarious. Like, he tackled the guy before the ball got there, and the guy still had time to get up and go, and have the ball hit him on the head. And Ryan was like, what? So, I mean, hey. I could talk a lot. I like to talk about football.
Is this the part you scripted?
No, well, Legend Cavazos, the touchdown pass that Tanner Morgan threw over Legend Cavazos, that was a really well thrown ball. Legend Cavazos was in good position there. That was not lost. Yeah, just got beat, and that's what's going to happen in the Big Ten and against quality opponents. So, 45-31, 500 yards of offense doesn't seem terrible considering.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you take a win like this every single time, especially if you're a coach, you know that Ohio State can play a lot better. And by the way, most teams in the country would take 45 points on the road against a conference opponent. I think I'll keep playing that record on repeat heading into this next week as we talk about it. Doesn't mean that Ohio State can't play a lot better. Doesn't mean that we won't talk about that on other shows aside from Rapid Reaction, which is brought to you by Byers Auto. That's Spencer Holbrook and Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. We'll be heading back to Columbus. Full slate of coverage, of course, coming your way as Ohio State gets ready for Oregon a week from Saturday. We will see you there.
While we're on